didn't deny or confirm, right? So our names got even bigger, right, with those guys, right? So yeah, so that's how
Listen up carefully. Look at this.
dealing with the Italians, how that all that started from that time, right?
Not to go too far off track, could you tell me a little bit? Because I was always fascinated. They called him though the John Gotti of Canada. Do you know anything about the Rizzutos?
Oh yes, yeah. I'll tell you how we met him. Like I said, Dean was always he, like when we were together, he was always doing something, right? So anyways, I says we're going to Montreal. We're going to go and meet these guys. I go, what guys? He goes, he says this guy. Like this is probably 1988, 89. It was a couple of years after the three captain thing, right? So Dean's telling me,
Banano three captain.
Yeah. So we go, we're going to go sit down because he was one of Rizzuto's lieutenants. His name was Renaud Desjardins, right? And that's who Dean's linked with. They linked.
So just to be clear, Dean was his best friend. They were best friends. This older gentleman here, Crafty one, he's been with us for a long time, a very long time. Bobby Bright, and he promised that he would start doing interviews online, etc. And he talks about his upbringing, how he grew up, and now he's mentioned his friend Dean, who's gone. He unfortunately got murdered, as often unfortunately happens. So that's what he's talking about, his best friend, and he's just to make it clear, his friend was an associate with Reynald Desjardins, and that would be in the early-ish 90s. I think he said 88. But probably between 88 till like 93 is that era of Reynald Desjardins was still he was importing some I'm afraid to say the word here, the brown chocolate. You know the brown chocolate, the green plant, you convert it to brown chocolate. I remember he was suspected of bringing in loads from, I think it was what was that country in the Middle East with the Libya? I think it was Libya. He was bringing that from Libya back then. And so it checks out perfectly with what this guy is about to tell us. He's talking about his friend Dean, who was working with him, and obviously he was working with them too, But he's talking about his best friend right now, just to situate you in this whole affair here.
Up when Dean was doing a little bit of time, that's where they met. But anyways, so we drove down to Montreal, and he's telling these guys are serious. Like he's going, these guys went down to New York, and he's telling me a story, right? So okay. So anyway, we meet in this fancy restaurant, and there he is sitting at the table. He welcomed us. We're the kids.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but I want you to understand the entire flow. He just said they went to. His friend told him, yeah, these guys, they're serious. They went to New York. He's talking about specific event. I think he said the three captains. Those who don't know, the Bananos. I think it's Joseph Messino. He wanted to kill three of the captains. Bananos. I don't know the reason. I can't recall, but. Vito Rizzuto was flown into New York, or he drove there, and he was part of that team, But Vito Rizzuto, of course, he denied it. You can't blame him, astute as he is. He said, I was just a point guy, I was just there to point him, or something like that, or watch the door, watch the door for security purposes, But he was there, and. That's why Vito went to prison, and that's why the whole Mafia thing crumbled and the enemies attacked. And funny enough, Reynald Desjardins, and the time that he's speaking about is when Reynald was friends with Vito. So remember that. He was friends with Vito, and now his friends is just alluding to that, oh yeah, these guys are serious. He went to New York, I'm just very fascinated by how, I believe Bobby, obviously, the guy told him this. But I'm fascinated how... Remember that Vito never got charged. This is 1988 to 93. He never got charged. It's not out there. He's not. This should be a secret. This should be a secret. But that means someone told his friend that these guys went to New York to do a hit. Now I find that very. They can't keep much of a secret, huh? You think they would keep this element extremely secret? They should not know that he went there for the three captain thing. But his friend let him know this at that time. So it just makes you... I'm just giving you that so we can appreciate the reality on the ground. That how things end up eventually happening, how word gets out, perhaps. But let's keep going. So that's what he was talking about. I'm going to rewind a little bit so we can recapture the flow here. Sorry about that, guys.
After the three captain thing, right? So Dean's telling me,
the Banano three captain.
Yeah. So we go, we're gonna go sit down because he was one of Rizzuto's lieutenants. His name was Renaud Desjardins, right? And that's who Dean's linked with. They linked up when Dean was doing a little bit of time. That's where they met. But anyways, so we drove down to Montreal, and he's telling these guys are serious. Like he's going, these guys went down to New York, and
He says he came to Montreal. He's from Toronto, by the way, just so you know.
He's telling me the story, right?
He's Ontarian.
Okay. So anyway, we meet in this fancy restaurant, and there he is sitting at the table. He welcomed us. We're the kids, so we get introduced as the kids from Toronto, right? And so we sat down. We had a meal with the guy. He's cracking jokes. You know what I mean?
Vito?
Yeah,
Vito
man.
Yeah.
Like right? And there was boxing going on. So the plan was that we were to sit down, talk business with his lieutenant, and then have dinner, and then go to the fights, right? And that's what we did. So that was our first introduction to him, and we sat right behind him. He had his crew, and we were right behind him, right? And he kept coming back, and you know what I mean, talking to us and all that stuff, right? So but his crew that we were associated with big time. We used to have comforters. A friend of ours had like a store. He sold comforters, like, camping stuff, basically, right? So we used to use his truck and bring back stuff from Montreal through that, but we used the comforters. So we used to stash all this is when we're doing hash, right? So we get like 200 plates of hash, 200 keys, right? And then we bring it back, right? So that's how we used to do it.
You
right?
see, he's talking about the brown chocolate. I told you for those who are just jumping in, the brown chocolate. What's his name? Reynald Desjardins. Who he's talking about? That's his load. It checks out perfectly. He was there was a huge operation at that time. Now he might be talking about 88, but he may have jumped by now. But what he's talking about, I believe, is going to be between 88 to 93ish. But I believe that operation that I told you about, the cops, how you say, put the webs together, busted a few people, or it may have even busted Reynald. I can't recall, but that was in 93ish, guys. So around there, and he's talking about that it was about the brown plant from Libya.
So
this is before they got busted. Obviously, he's talking about, you're getting the inner workings a little bit. He's obviously part of it somewhere in that pipeline. If you analyze what he just said to you,
mostly went through Renard, but we're very rarely in the presence of Vito, right? But
Reynald Desjardins.
But I can tell you that my time, like Dean more than me, but he was a straight up guy. He was funny, you know what I mean, and he can, you know what I mean, like he wasn't just he can go, right, and he liked the action, right? Yeah, he was.
I apologize. You can't see my whole screen. I tried everything. I can't do it. I apologize for that. I did try. Trust me.
I was impressed, Right? Yeah, right.
And he was so his everyone around knew like this guy was the real Vito Rizzuto. Like reputation was through the roof.
Yeah, like he wasn't big then, because after that he got up in status, so he became his father's I guess one of his top captains or something, and had his own crew, right? But he was like Dean, a magnet, like the way him and Dean remind me of each other, because people were just drawn to these guys, like, you know what I mean, like
very charismatic too.
Yeah, right. And the same with Dean, right? So like I said, he more interacted with those guys in Montreal than I did, right? But a few times I was in his company, and we were doing a lot of business with them, though, right? I'd meet his bag man, right? when we have to pay, they send somebody down, or we go there, or whatever what the situation was, and that went on for years. Damn. And then in the so let's jump in the 90s when
All right, I'm gonna stop this video here because at the end of the day, that's not my content. That's our friend. You need to go watch it on his own channel. Watch the whole thing. There's a lot more you can learn about the underworld, things like that. Okay, I don't wanna. I'd love to watch the rest, but I want to be fair to the guy. I don't wanna. He worked hard for it. You need to go on the Loomis show right here. Canadian Criminal Enterprises is the video. Just get it out. Watch it, man. Watch it. And I'm gonna stream it. I'm gonna cut this. I'm gonna stream. We're gonna go to listen to the news. And shout out to Bobby Bright. He kept his word. He said he was gonna do this. He was going to do this. He told me this at least 6 months ago. And I promised him. I said, whenever you do, I promise I will push it. I'll do what I can to push it. So here you go, Bobby. I kept my part of my bargain. I told you I would do this. Just I have my limit. I love to continue. Trust me. It's just out of respect for the Loomis show. This Irishman on the left, he looked Canadian to me, and then he sounded Canadian to me. But then I figured out he's from Boston. He's from Boston. He's a pretty cool guy. And I like the hat. Actually, I have like about a collection of 10 hats like that, straight from Ireland myself. But it's pretty cool. I think his interview skills is great. He knows exactly what questions to ask, how much. He lets the other person speak. It's fantastic. I highly recommend. Let's help this channel boost. Watch this. By the way, I also did the stream right now, right this very second, for a specific reason, to maximize the benefits for Bobby Bright and Loomis. You know why? If you enjoy this part, what I just showed you, that was just part 1. There's actually a part 2 coming tonight. I believe it said 7 p.m. 7 p.m. for me is Eastern time. So I'm guessing he's from Boston. It's the same thing, right? Should be same time as ours. So in like 50 minutes, he will be live again. Bobby Bright on the Loomis show. Freaking great, no? So if you liked what you just saw with the Crafty one, go support our friends there. And yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you. I'm going to stream our regular news right now because we need to catch up on everything, do the marathon, gather our data so that we can appreciate when a big news story comes in, And I think we do have one or two of really striking news that just happened. So, all right, guys. Hey, shout out to Jesse Marasco. God bless. Thank you. All right, I'm restreaming a second one right now, guys. See you there.